Hi everyone, I'm Sunny and today's video is going to be a battle of the exes, you versus them. So think about your specific ex you had an argument with, or you just had you obviously had a fallout, but you know when things end not that great. So think about that person and what happened, and then I'll channel more or less who ended up being not the winner, but I guess the winner in the public's eye, which is basically your friend groups and such, right? Or your family group too. So I have three piles from left to right. I have pile 1, 2, and 3. So if you need more time, you're more than welcome to pause the video. Otherwise, I will go ahead and start with the first one. So your ex-partner would be on the left, you would be on the right, and then more or less the action and maybe the winning case in the middle. So on the left is Ace of Cups reversed, followed by the Six of Swords upright, followed by the Nine of Swords reversed. So for this pile, I just feel that there's withholding. So either you weren't able to express your anxieties and I guess you can say discomfort, but whatever was weighing on your mind, it was something that you couldn't really talk about with your partner. I think that this partner was just very coldish. Coldish is not the right. I need to have variety in words when I say words, but this partner, I feel this partner tends to be more standoffish is the right word. This person's standoffish. I think this person wasn't as, maybe at first he was or she was, they were they happened to be a lot more open about their feelings. They were like not necessarily love bombing you, but they always were sweet with you, and they always did like nice gestures for you, and their heart really poured out. Eventually that kind of died out, and you kind of felt that they kind of turned their back on you with this Six of Swords in the middle. It just feels like somebody walked away. It just feels like they turned their back on you and they walked away from you, and they just kind of left you out in the cold maybe, and that's why you were kind of brokenhearted or just left speechless, because you're I didn't see this coming. Or if you saw that there was mild, I don't want to say mild symptoms, but mild signals that they were uncomfortable or unhappy, they didn't really specify, or they didn't get into detail with you. I think they just kind of took off, and you were WTF. It was not that great. Communication had much to do with it. Communication and the lack thereof communication of your feelings, of what their thoughts are, even at that. So I just think that even if you try to battle it out. Sorry, I just don't feel like my tongue is working with me today. I took a sip of water. So I just think that you guys didn't want to express what was really going on inside. It's not that I was eating at you, it's just that you were pressing and pushing down because maybe you didn't want to be confrontational. Maybe you didn't want to stir the pot. Or maybe you just felt that even though you knew the truth, you just didn't want to acknowledge the fact that you guys weren't going to be good for each other. So for this pile, it just feels that you guys just were dismissive of each other and your own self. And it's because of that the union dissolved. So I just feel that the person who ended up being, I just don't feel this pile in particular had I just don't feel this. I think you guys are very private, so it's kind of he say here. How do you say that? She say hearsay. Here say here. He say she say. Sometimes I get that right, but I'm not coming up with the right word. But it's speculation for others. I think they can't really verify with each other, with each person. Mostly it has to do mostly with the fact that I think both of you guys are very private about your emotions or what's going on. So it just feels like overall you guys wouldn't be the people who who open up easily. So I don't know. I just think that you guys go about relationships a very specific way, and people meddling isn't something you're comfortable with. So I don't necessarily feel that people would like let me just get a confirmation for you guys. You guys have the 5 of Cups reversed. Yeah, I think you guys moved on, or at least this particular person. I feel for the sorry, I should just move these. I feel particularly for this pile, I think this person, which is them, moved on first before you did. And that might have also hurt you, because maybe they, not that they had a wandering eye, but I think they were already communicating with somebody that they showed interest in, or at least they developed feelings for example. And that could be it. Or they just communicated with people that just wanted to be single, right? And they started like liking that more than being in a relationship with you. And it just feels like they walked away and maybe met somebody, but it was disappointing, obviously. So I don't think they really got what they wanted, and maybe neither do you. But let me put one for you. You guys have the 5 of Swords upright. So yeah, for this pile, I just feel that you guys, you were ready to be confrontational now, but I think you picked a battle previously that maybe you couldn't have won, and now you can win it, mostly because you've gathered your thoughts, you've let time pass, and you've healed yourself, and you have healed yourself in the way of communication of like, it was muddy enough before where I didn't know what the issue was in the relationship, and now I do. I just needed time. That's all I needed. And this person, I think that if they did walk away and they met somebody else, I think it was a very disappointing connection, and it wasn't all that great, right? But they're learning to start anew. I think since then they probably started a few relationships. They turned a new leaf in that way. But I just don't think they were possibly the most stable person when it comes to having a long-term connection. I think they keep getting, it's interesting how you're a very airy sign and they're a very watery sign. So I just keep thinking that this person believes in maybe that the facade, maybe it's very Neptunian, where they believe in the facade that this person's all great. Yeah, and then they get enamored with the idea of a person, but they're not really in love with the person. And then they just kind of dissolve it and then move on to the next person. So that could be their issue. And then for you, maybe sometimes you have hot and cold moments of being passive aggressive with your words, and sure, that can sometimes hurt people, but at the same time, I just feel that you had enough time to gather your thoughts and be cutthroat. Just feels like you're more ready to rumble now than you were in the previous time, and your mental health feels like it's progressed a lot. I think you've learned a lot about yourself in the privacy of your own time and just time itself. But I just think that you guys just walked away from just a terrible, terrible connection that wasn't that helpful to you guys. I think you wanted more communication, and this person maybe wanted to have a more specific, not like touchy lovey connection, but I think maybe they just wanted to be pampered a lot, and it was like a lot of like take maybe, rather than them giving too. It's like, you care for me rather than me caring for you too. It's just like it was unequal, I just feel. And that's why it was eating at you, that you could have been someone that was very giving to this person too, but you just couldn't voice your opinion about your unhappiness, that you wanted also to be pampered too, for example, of like from a partner, right? So it just feels that you're discontent and you're just like ready to cut them down should they ever come across you, or even if they do come to you again, or if they ever did. I think you really kind of put them in their place verbally. So maybe you cuss them out. So thank you, pile number 1. Next, pile number 2. You guys have the Justice card upright, the 8 of Cups upright, and the High Priestess reversed. So on the left would be your partner, in the middle would be more or less, what went wrong, or more or less the outcome of the situation from the outside perspective, and you would be on the right. So give me a second while I take a sip of water really quick. I just don't want to sound super like screechy. I feel like some days I feel it's better to like speak, other days not so much. So for this pile, Your partner on the left is represented by the Justice, so I think maybe they were fair, but or what they thought particularly, sometimes it can be biased, where what they consider a fair relationship might not be so fair to the other person sometimes. Maybe this is a strong female. I think maybe for you, some of you guys picked a female. Maybe the person, your partner, was a female. And maybe you could be a female too, or you could be the man. But for the most part, I feel that this part, or even if it was a man, they are a very beautiful man. And I mean, there's a reason why you went out with them. So I just think that the way they consider fairness can be maybe biased for you. And with that Eight of Cups, I think somebody walked. I just feel that there's a similarity to the previous pile in a way where I feel that somebody, rather than walking away, they keep walking away, quote unquote, to start anew, but you end up going back to the same toxic cycle. So maybe you go back to this person, or this person comes back to you, and basically you guys kind of promise each other it's gonna be different this time, and it's not. You don't trust your intuition, possibly, and maybe that's why you're the High Priestess reversed, is that you have a hard time following through with your own, like, that little voice is kind of telling you, like, it's just the same. It's not gonna, not that it's not gonna work out, but it's just like you're going back to the same. Like, what is that saying that goes, you're doing something but you're still getting the same results? And I can't think of the same, but you're doing the same thing or differently, but it's still giving you the same results, but you still go back, or you still end up doing the same thing, and you still keep lying to yourself, where not that it's gonna work out, but it just feels like you're struggling to believe that. I just feel that there's a struggle to believe in something, or maybe their words, their actions, maybe this person, and even if they were a man, maybe they end up falling for, like, why is emotions in the middle? Like, it's just sometimes I don't feel like I'm the sharpest sometimes reader. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I just feel this message is just, the reason why it didn't work out is because you keep going back to something. Maybe you keep trusting what they feel like. Imagine like you guys have an argument and they want a second opinion, but rather than being your opinion as a partner, because it could be biased, they could rely on their friends or family or close connections to give them a second or third opinion, right? And they would rather listen to, they weigh out that, right? And they would rather listen to that than listen to maybe you and the opinion perspective. So it just feels like it's tricky here. So imagine that this person is trying to do the fair thing, but it might not be so fair. It might just still feel toxic. That's why I just feel like justice feels right in theory, but it feels wrong way about going about it, because I just feel they have a toxic cycle they continuously continue to do. So it's interesting to me that that's the case. And even with the High Priestess reversed on your side with this, I feel that maybe you're guilty, and like you feel guilty about it, but you still continue to do it because familiarity makes you want to stay around. So maybe that's why. Let me get a confirmation card for them and you. They have the Ace of Wands reversed, and then you have the Eight of Wands upright. Interesting. I think maybe they lost the spark in the connection. That's why they turned their back on you, I think. Oops, I thought that was closer. Yeah, I think this person kind of, if there was a winner between you, like even, this is more like present day time for me. I just feel that you'd probably be the winner, but not a winner like, haha, suck it. It's a winner where you're going full speed ahead. Like, I think you're moving forward. I don't think you're stuck necessarily in the past, but I think you're just asking because of curiosity. I just feel that this person lost their interest in you. Like, they just fell out of love, or they ended up loving themselves more, being more self-involved, being more, having narcissistic tendencies maybe, or just they weren't acting out of a partnership, they acted more out of self. So it's like their actions were a bit like, if they had to take a trip and they're like, well, I'm going here because I have to go to a wedding, right? And they asked you, like, you think they would ask you if you wanted to like tag along, but they don't. It's like, I'm doing this solo and I'm not necessarily doing this with you. And you're like, oh, okay, have fun. And for you, I feel that you put more effort into the relationship, but you weren't getting anything. I think you just kind of kept going back in circles. So maybe that's why you just learn to eventually trust yourself a little bit more. In that little voice kind of telling you like, don't. So I just think that you could possibly be the one that's like doing all the work, like the 100%, going like 90%, and then go 10%. So I just think that you guys had very different ways to go about how you wanted a connection between each other, or like how much spark of a connection, you know, like that Legio energy was like not as compatible. I could also see this as you guys have fiery tempers, and this person, I think you guys kind of take turns, not necessarily this person solely, but I think you guys take turns of like battling it out because of egos specifically. I just think egos were hurt. But yeah, I just think that you guys are focusing on different things. So yeah, I think that you would win, but you wouldn't win because like you would win like, yay, it's fair and square. I think you'd win because you have more stamina and more things pent up. I think you have a lot of pent up things that you want to like throw at them, and like you want to throw at them because you want to have an explanation, just to have closure, not because you want to like go back to them. But you still, I'm sure you still think they're good looking, but that's besides the point. But yeah, I just think this person kind of made you get angry, or was very passive aggressive too. I do think that could be it too, that they're very passive aggressive. Like, rather than telling you directly if something was wrong or they weren't happy, they just kind of found ways to kind of be off-putting, or just very like meh, disinterested, or maybe say things that were hurtful but in a nice way, you know, the nice words or nice tone. And you're like, say it if you're gonna say it. It could be just that. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Next is pile number 3. So you guys have the Knight of Swords reversed, the King of Wands upright, and the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So let me take a sip of water. Okay. On the left would be your ex-partner, and then you would be on the very right, and then whatever happened, or more or less, you know, how you guys appeared to others and after, you know, your breakup and stuff, is going to be in the middle. So the Knight of Swords upright for them, I just feel they're a bit of a charmer. Maybe that's why you were attracted to them. I think they were possibly a good looking person. Of course, I shouldn't just say that, like, of course they would be if you guys went out with each other, like, there must be some feelings. I just think, even though they could be like that, I just think they were possibly talking to other individuals who they were also interested in for their physicality, right? So whether I don't think they necessarily texted them, but rather who they met up. So like, let's say they go out to parties with their friends, and it just so happened to be on one occasion that you didn't show up, and they always ended up talking with people and mingling and flirting, right? They're a bit of a flirt regardless of their gender, so they were flirty and flirtatious with the opposite sex or the same sex, but whatever that may be. I shouldn't have said the sex word, darn. Oh well. I meant to more like gender, not the actual act of. So for this pile, I just feel that they did have a bit of a wandering eye. Maybe they were younger than you, or they were just still like, not that they were green and dating. They didn't really want to commit just yet. Like, they could commit to you, but they didn't want to commit to, like, I want to have a really long-term relationship and then get married. It just feels they committed because they like you, but they also like other things, right? So I just think they were very inexperienced with being mature. Let's just say that. Maybe they didn't handle your heart correctly, and that's why things didn't work out. It could have been a very fast connection where you guys got together really fast and then broke it off really just as fast. So it was maybe like a short-term relationship compared to the other ones. I feel this one's like a lot shorter, but I feel that that's your vibe too, where you're like, when I like someone, I go full speed ahead and I don't stop. I don't really think about the consequences of my actions and our actions together until later on, where like, oh, I could have saved myself so much time had I just waited to get to know them a little bit more. That could be your flaw. So I just feel I don't want to say they necessarily stepped out. I do think that you being the Wheel of Fortune reverse, I just feel that your luck was changing on something. Maybe your luck changed because of them, or because they acted the way they were, like very like temperamental, angry, or just they didn't have good ways to dispose that anger, or like if they were upset about something, they yelled at you, or they just like, not at like you specifically, but they just like threw fits and like destroyed their own property, or they just like went out to get they purposely tried to get you jealous, for example, with other people. Like, and they knew, because they knew how to press your buttons. It's just that they knew how to rile you up, and you just felt like it was chaos. Like, there was chaos. There was chaos in the relationship, and I think they liked that you were also chaotic too, because you were someone that was very, not unstable, but erratic. Erratic is the proper word of saying, like, they could never know what's your next step. So with the King of Wands in the middle, I think maybe people thought like you guys were being mature. No, you know what? I think it wasn't maturity. I think they could also think that you guys were being authoritarian, or just very strong-minded, like with each other, that it was clashing constantly. So I think the reason why people thought it didn't work out is because they could see you guys being constantly argumentative or constantly fighting, and whoever had the last say was the winner. So I'm gonna say typically the male person in this connection was a person who they thought was quote unquote the winner, but the other person was frustrated because that's not how they feel it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull a card for this side, the left side, and one for the right side, which is you. So for the left, I have the King of Cups reversed. I should just scoot these up. And then on the right side, I have the Page of Wands upright. So let me take a sip of water before I continue. So for this pile, I feel that in the present time, if you guys had to battle it out, I just need one more confirmation. Five of Pentacles reversed. Sorry if it's out of focus. I think this person will be very cold and very cutthroat. I do think that this person possibly talked to people and they met up with people. Or they texted. Maybe that's why the relationship didn't end well, because You guys had fiery tempers. Okay, I'm gonna go from top to bottom again. So you guys had fiery tempers. You guys constantly mirrored each other, but it was chaotic. It was intense. You guys had a lot of confrontation. So I think a lot of like verbal he say, she say. There you go. Now I can say it better. I don't know why I couldn't say it earlier. He say, she say stuff. And then I think they constantly ran away like from you after they were just like, I'm done. And they walked away. I don't know why I keep thinking of like, I know this isn't necessarily you guys, but I think of like the toxicity of like the early 2000s watching the Jersey Shore, Sam and Ron. It was tumultuous, toxic fights. So it just feels like that. It's just, I mean, I feel like you chased him or her, but I feel like it's him. I feel like you really chased after them just to cut them down, like not cut them down, but like giving them a piece of your mind. Like I don't even think so. Like like you're gonna talk to me because I'm talking to you. Let's discuss this. And I think this person's like whatever. I think they'd rather just focus on other people and communicate. Like I just feel like they were flirting with other people to get you to be upset or like to like. It's just a personality to like have a wandering eye. But yeah, I don't think they really loved you that deeply. That's what you're concerned about. But even then, I still think that they haven't changed much. I think that maybe they're still a little mean, a little bit manipulative. And I think that you are learning to, because I think that if you're going from the king to the page, I think you're learning to I think you humbled yourself a lot. Or at least this connection was very humbling for you, that you like took it down a notch and you're like, you know what, like let me fix what I feel that was toxic or that I was also bringing into the relationship, and I'm gonna start fresh. I think that the page of wands is starting to have a healthier way of going about, like you're looking at different, like look at the direction from the king to the page. I just feel that you decided to not look at that direction anymore, focusing on them and focusing on maybe yourself or others, or just having a lighter feeling of adventure and like thrill seeking of like meeting people and just talking to them and just focusing on yourself and doing activities that make you feel alive, right? It just doesn't feel like you're stuck in that energy. And with the 5 of Pentacles reversed, I just feel that you're not walking into that anymore. You're not as in a toxic relationship as you thought you needed to be. And I just feel that overall you're the winner now, in the sense where you moved on. And I feel that you just kind of wanted reassurance that like they're feeling miserable or they're not, like just to make sure like maybe that you wanted to know that if they had changed, then they have not. They just grew their intensity of like selfishness. And I feel that you aren't like that anymore. I think you're kind of just realizing that you were done caring for them the way you used to. You were done watching over them, like have to constantly like hover over them to make sure they're taken care of. I think that now you can take care of yourself now better, but you realize that you didn't really need them at the end. I think you can go solo, and I think you realize that. So I just think that you're more in an independent kind of energy where you don't need to rely on somebody else to feel like you're fulfilled, or you don't need to rely on somebody else to make you feel happy, because you're a lot happier without somebody that's constantly making you worry, or somebody constantly feeling like they're stepping out, or somebody constantly feeling like they're going to be selfish and manipulative with their emotions and put themselves first rather than also considering you, for example. So it was also very chaotic before in your life. So I think that you've changed a lot and gotten yourself into a more fun environment. Not necessarily like stay. I don't feel that you guys like to be super stable, because that feels kind of boring. I just feel that you got yourself into a much more peaceful environment where you get to feel like you're alive. It just feels like you have the sense of adventure in you, but definitely not that kind of toxic adventure that you used to have before. So I guess you are the winner in that way, where you learn to not cut yourself down for somebody else. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It went a little differently than I thought. So if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It will help me out with my channel. I appreciate all my subscribers, by the way. I don't say that enough, but I sometimes feel that can be annoying too, to constantly hear it. But thank you guys for subscribing and watching me. I appreciate you guys and your viewership. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon in a different video. So bye, everybody.